Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Hash, where we bring you the latest and greatest in crypto and culture. My name is Naomi Brockwell, and today on the show, we have the usual gang, Jen Sanasi, Will Foxley, and Zach Seward. We're going to start off by talking about Time's Person of the Year. So I'm going to hand this off to Zach. Who is it?
Not me, unfortunately. But this
crazy.
year's Person of the Year is Elon Musk. I'm hearing audio. Is anyone else hearing audio that's just like, oh, you know what? I'm hearing audio because I'm looking at the page that he is named on. So sorry. Let's do this again. 2021 Person of the Year is Elon Musk. Wow, that guy. He does space, he does cars, and he does crypto. And that's why we're talking about him here. This is a man who can move markets with mere tweets, especially in the world of Dogecoin and other dog-related cryptocurrencies. I'm going to toss this straight to Naomi. Elon has been a contentious but certainly influential figure over the course of this year. What's your take on Time going with Elon for the big win here?
I think it's awesome. I think Elon is awesome. I think he's one of the most important entrepreneurs of our generation. He helms several really amazing cutting edge tech companies that are really pushing the envelope forward when it comes to exploring new horizons. And I really respect that. I also respect his outlook. I mean, he's the person who sleeps literally on the factory floor when things get rough. So yeah, he pushes people hard. He's pushing himself hard as well, just to push those boundaries. And I think that's really exciting that we all get to benefit from that. I thought the article did a really good job of talking about all of the ways that he's contributed, how far, he just has this amazing comprehensive ability to understand things that perhaps other people miss. And that's been such an asset to him. But it also kind of looks at the criticisms of him. But I think when you package it all together, even in the light of those criticisms, it's undeniable the contribution that Musk has made. My favorite thing about this was when they're like, oh, he does all these amazing things. He's brilliant, going to space, he's putting satellites, his electric cars. Also, he tweets while he's on the toilet. It's like, what? And I just love that irreverence that he has too. Like, he is an edgelord. He is the king of memes. And I appreciate him tremendously on Twitter as much as I appreciate him in the tech frontiers. But I'll throw this to the group. I think I saw your hand, Jen, but I saw Zach as well. So I don't know whether you wanted to quickly comment on something and then throw it to Jen.
No, I'll throw it straight to Jen. Jen, all you.
All right. Naomi, I agree with you. I love how balanced the article was. I think that Elon feels so accessible to us. So we often forget what a visionary he is. I think even I don't know if some people on the show, but there are a lot of people who have had interactions with Elon on Twitter. And I don't think we've had someone who's been such a big personality and big visionary in the way that Elon has been with the technology that we have. So he almost feels like he's just like operating amongst us. So I thought that was really cool. I did want to add one little tidbit. I do know someone who's been to SpaceX, and they told me that when you enter SpaceX, Elon's vision is just so blatant, and every single employee there, no matter the level of task they're doing, they all understand how what they're doing in that moment ladders up to one of SpaceX's big goals. And I think that just speaks to his leadership and his vision. And I don't know any other leader, and I've never heard of any other leader that has been able to really instill their vision into a workforce like that, although I didn't experience it firsthand. But Zach, I'll pass it off to you.
I was just going to point out just that this is also sort of a continuation of Time's, trip down the rabbit hole when it comes to crypto this year, right? Time has led with a couple of experiments, both in Bitcoin and Ethereum, around NFTs and metaverse. They have certain verticals that are looking deep into these things. So I was just wanted to put that corollary that, this is a nice little another crypto credential for Time Magazine as it looks to reinvent itself under President Keith Grossman. So interesting to see them lean into this one. I think Jen, you nailed it, right? Like, Elon is the man of the memes, and he is the man of the meme moment. And I think 2021, from GameStop all the way up through the Dogecoin frenzy, was really about meme momentum in these weird, crazy, topsy-turvy markets that sometimes just don't make a lot of sense to the rationally minded of us out there. So for him to take home this cover toward the end of the year here, I think makes a ton of sense. But I am curious for Will's thoughts on the matter.
No, I think going back to what Naomi said earlier, like how does he do all this stuff? He's in charge of so many different companies, and that's what always kind of sticks out to me. Is it's Tesla or the Boring company that he started, or SpaceX, and then there's like Neuralink, and there's so many other companies that he's involved with. And it seems like he's not only involved with them as a CEO and as kind of like the decision maker, but he's also like on the factory floor, like you said. So I think like he's really captured that American positivity around entrepreneurship, which has kind of been lacking for the last pretty like a long while, right? There hasn't been a time where a lot of the entrepreneurs in the last 20, 30 years haven't been vilified by everybody. But Elon Musk has somehow kind of joked his way around it. You see with all the memes that always pop up, he somehow can always get around it, which is just like fantastic. And I think it's also kind of moving upward, right? Because like 2018, you had that famous tweet where he's like going to take Tesla private at $420 per share. That was only the beginning of this, right? And now we're in 2021, moving 2022, and it's only getting stronger. But Naomi, I'll throw it to you for the next topic.
No one makes tweets as good as him. I'm grateful for Elon, but let's change track and talk about someone else that I'm grateful for right now, Brian Armstrong, doing some pretty exciting things. So he wrote a tweet that said, excited to announce New Limit, a company I'm helping create as a board member and investor in the epigenetic reprogramming space with Byers Blake. The mission of New Limit is to radically extend human lifespan. He linked a blog article to this where he talks about the different ways that people are exploring how to cure aging. I think it's important to say right off the bat, because I one of the first articles I read about this, they were like, aging is inevitable, but Brian Armstrong doesn't think so. And it's like, I think that people confound the passing of time with the damage that occurs to our cells that creates diseases that ends up killing us. One of those obviously can't be stopped. We can't reverse time, but we can absolutely find cures to diseases in our body and extend human lifespan. And we're just really, this space is moving so fast right now. We had Vitalik Buterin earlier this year give a ton of money to SENS Foundation, which is basically like this organization that creates all these offshoot companies exploring all these different ways that we can, ease human suffering and extend lifespan. And it's just really exciting. He's focused on epigenetic reprogramming, the idea that you could take a one cell and reprogram it to something else. This is an area of study that's getting really exciting because prior to this, we had stem cells, and you start with stem cells, you end up with cancer, right? But we figured out how to get stem cells, but then put them a few stages later. So it's like, okay, the cell now knows what it's going to be. Like it's really exciting what's going on. I'm going to throw this to the group for your thoughts on all of this. Will, what's your take on curing aging? Daunting task.
Yeah, VCs are having such a good time. The only thing they fear is death, it seems. And I want to go back to what you said about Vitalik there. In his pinned bio on Twitter, he has an article called The Fable of the Dragon Tyrant. And it's really long and kind of beats around the bush. Gets to the point that like most people think of time and aging as something that you can't get around, and like you just have to succumb to it. But there is like this new push among venture capitalists and a lot of people in the tech space to invest money and solve aging as some sort of problem, just as internet money had to be a problem that was solved, just as telecommunication was some sort of problem that needed to be solved. And those things were solved by the VC model and by like the capitalist model. And these people think that the same thing can happen. And there was an interesting point in Brian's blog post kind of talking about that, about how initially, a lot of these projects this company is going to develop will be extremely expensive and people will not be able to purchase it. But over time, as more money flows into it, it'll become cheaper to the point where everyone can have like this technology they're trying to develop that extend people's age. So it's really fascinating to see like this confluence of philosophy, tech broism, and then trying to solve like a problem for everybody out there. Zach, I'll throw it down to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, this has been a long time fascination, a lot of people in tech. And I wanted to shout out Neil Stephenson. We often credit Neil Stephenson with the invention of the word metaverse. So very timely. But he also has a book, it's called Fall or Dodge in Hell. I haven't read all of it because it's like doorstop size thick. So I've read like, I don't know, quarter of it. And the quarter that I've read, it's very much about sort of this like this fictionalized quest among these different tech bro millionaires to start sort of longevity technologies and some of the different sort of factions therein. So this is something that I think Neil Stephenson certainly was aware of, at least in 2019 when this book came out. And it's something that's just been a fascination of a lot of people in the space for a while. I remember talking to a prominent crypto VC back in 2019 based in San Francisco. I'm like, hey, what are you going to do when crypto gets boring? And he's like, yeah, it'll probably get boring in like 10 years. Then I'm going to do like life sciences, maybe like longevity stuff. So I think I could see like this being the next thing that a lot of these sort of like early thinkers move to. And I think a lot of people could end up leaving crypto for some of these pursuits should they plow all their gains into something really expensive and something that's kind of far-fetched when you think about it. But hey, I'll toss it to Naomi.
Yeah, I think Jen also had a hand up, so I'll throw to her first, and then I'll say some things.
I'll go super quickly. I think it was months and months and months ago on this show where we asked each other what the next thing that VCs would be pouring their money into. And Naomi, I think it was you that said like biohacking, gene editing. And I think you were completely, you hit the nail on the head. I do want to clear something up for the audience, though. When we talk about expanding lifespan, the article says it's not about extending the amount of years that you live, but it's allowing you to live the years that you're meant to live, but without the pains and ailments. So imagine being 70 or 80 years old and still having the mobility and know with all that you had when you were 30 years old. And that's quite an interesting future to look into. But Naomi, I'll pass it back off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of things that are cheap out there, like there are already heaps of studies about rapamycin, which is incredibly cheap on the market. Some really promising studies that are also underway. Studies like TrimX study, which are very interesting. I think it's interesting what you were talking about, both Will and Zach, about how we have, and also I want to mention the Nick Bostrom article. If you haven't read that, you absolutely should. It's really great. There's also a video version. I recommend watching the YouTube video, which basically just narrates the fable of the dragon tyrant, which is Nick Bostrom's article. It kind of talks about how when we have things that we can't control, instead of feeling helpless, we justify it by saying, well, these things are natural, these things are good. And we start to think of these awful things that happen to us, the immense pain that the elderly go into. We start to say, well, that's a natural part of life. It's a good thing. And we don't realize that, well, we can actually help these people. We could alleviate so much suffering. And I think it's important to remember that. And I just want to say, like, if anyone's watching and they're like, no, life is special because it's short. Like, the answer that I would have to that is like, well, if it's special because it's short, why don't you make it even more special and more shorter? Let's like mandate euthanasia. Like, it's just such a ridiculous argument. Like, life is not special because it's short. Life is special because we make it special.
A little early for euthanasia talk.
Yeah, all right. So we won't go there, but I think that people really need to rethink their priors about all of this because we're entering a new age. We can alleviate the suffering of a huge amount of people. And Brian Armstrong is kind of at the helm here. They've raised $105 million initially from founders to get the company off the ground, doing a lot of research. This is not the only company that's exploring this. Jeff Bezos has poured a bunch of money into all of this. Like, you've got wealthy entrepreneurs who are like, no, let's alleviate this suffering. I think that's kind of awesome. I'm excited to keep track of all of the advances they make there. But any final words, Zach?
Final words. Why have final words when you can live forever? Those are my final words.
Well put.
All right. Doom. Boom. All right. We'll take a break. You may live forever, but doesn't mean you're going to avoid breaks on the hash. Okay. So stick with us. We're going to talk about this crazy thing. Tether, USDT. Is it like an official currency of a shadow government in Myanmar now? Yes, reportedly it is. We're going to talk about that when we get back from the break. All right. Long live and prosper, everybody. Happy Monday, too.
Jen?
When we say we want to reimagine money, it turns out we're going to the heart of the matter. Imagination has always been a key part of what money is. Imagination, in the form of cultural creativity, is also something that the cryptocurrency community has in spades. And to the outsider, that can be a reason to dismiss it as frivolous, as something built on nothing. To dismiss it for these reasons, though, is to ignore that all money is imagined.
There's a lot of questions about where Tether banks its dollars, but Myanmar's shadow government isn't too concerned about it because they technically don't have a presence either. So Myanmar's shadow government, the National Unity Government, has been ousted earlier this year, and they've been waging a war against a military coup that has essentially cemented its place within the region. And they need funds in order to keep moving forward. And they're looking to Tether to be used as their currency of choice. Of course, they're using other monetary instruments, including some sort of bond that they raised earlier this year. But they're looking to Tether, specifically its ability to be traded on par with the dollar, as a means of fundraising to wage its war against the military government that ousted it earlier last year and this year. Naomi, I'm going to throw this to you. This is pretty fascinating to see that Tether is the central monetary unit for, or could be central monetary unit for, what is a regime war in Southeast Asia. That is not something that I would ever expect. And I think this actually has greater importance for the cryptocurrency space than a lot of other news that has come out this year. To see a cryptocurrency being in the center of a regime change war that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, no, it is. It's kind of interesting how governments are starting to key into the value of cryptocurrency and at the same time being very fearful of that value because they're realizing this is a double-edged sword. We've seen the same thing, like the way that Iran was evading sanctions by looking into mining and encouraging people to go into mining. I have Venezuela. They create the petro as a way to kind of avoid sanctions. And both of these governments then crack down on their own population getting involved with crypto. Because the fact is, crypto is a tool. It is a neutral tool, and it is a permissionless tool. It can be used by anyone, and it can't be controlled. And so it's very interesting because governments are using this to evade the bad repercussions of other governments. But then those same governments are looking to their people and being like, "Well, we don't want you guys to evade our control. We want to still be able to control you." So there is this war of control going on, and crypto is being used as this baton. But in this situation, it's surprising that they use something like Tether, because Tether is not uncontrollable. And we shouldn't forget that about stable coins. When you have a counterparty, when you have a centralized company that is responsible for minting and issuing and can freeze this money, you shouldn't presume that you can evade anything. So it's interesting that they're using this as kind of this power tool because, they're using it as a proxy for US dollar. They're saying that it will for domestic use, it will make it easier and speed up current trade services, payment systems. So they're not really talking about it as evading anything, but they are in a position where they are at a disadvantage in terms of power, and they're looking to cryptocurrency as a way to help them. So it is just a very interesting situation going on there. Zach, I'm going to throw it to you for your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, Tether has certainly blacklisted accounts before in the past, right? And it's not something that is entirely out of the question should enough pressure be exerted on this central repository of these, these asset-backed stablecoins. So it's interesting that they went with that. I think if you think about if you sort of game it out to that extent, it's potentially problematic for what's going on here. But it's certainly notable that something that is aspiring to be a government is using stable coins as a way to sort of fund itself. That is crazy. That's not on the crypto, not on many crypto bingo cards this year that Tether would be sort of integrated into the operations of a stateless nation. So the fact that this is happening is pretty wild. But again, I mean, we're gonna see what this ultimately ends up looking like, and I'm curious to see some more reporting out of the region to see how this plays out. Gonna be wild. We'll see. Will.
Yeah, I'll take it back really quick before I hand it off to Jen. I think the prior knowledge that's necessary for this kind of conversation is talking about how euro dollars work, which is basically dollars that are kind of free floating out there. They exist outside the purview of the United States government. And a lot of countries and a lot of people want euro dollars. They want to be able to transact in dollars because the dollar is much more stable than other currencies most people issue, right? We've seen just massive inflation numbers in countries like Turkey, Venezuela, and elsewhere. And people want dollars to be able to transact internationally and within their own countries. And that's, I think, what this regime wants, is they want the dollar standard to be able to transact with it. And I think we're seeing Tether, if it continues along the path it's right now, going to become some sort of vehicle for getting dollars into your country that's totally outside the purview of the United States. And I think that is just going to bring more pressure in the crypto space itself. Like that is going to be kind of the needle that pops the balloon, in my opinion. Jen, I'm going to throw it down to you though for last thoughts.
Yeah, I actually had a question that you kind of just answered there. I was going to ask you, just given Tether's history and Myanmar's history, is Tether the best vehicle for what's happening there? And I think you kind of answered it but why not like USDC, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert on Southeast Asian local currency, but I will say that people just they want dollars and they want the easiest access to dollars. Tether has much more volume and turnover than something like USDC. USDC is highly regulated by the US government through basically Circle, which is a Coinbase company, and another company called Circle. So they're kind of like looked at by US regulators. USDT has been kind of infamous for acting outside of US government regulations, or at least they've been critiqued for it. It's kind of a back and forth conversation on crypto Twitter forever and ever, unfortunately. But I think we've also seen precedent for USDT in other regions. Alex Gladstein's the CSO at the Human Rights Foundation, has written some awesome pieces about how Tether has been used in Palestine to move dollars around that local economy. So I think we're just going to keep seeing this happen. USDT fills a need for some economies that don't have access to dollars, and that's why you're seeing it being picked up. But I think we're moving to the next topic, so I'll throw it back to you, Jen.
Yeah, before I get to the next topic, it is Pumpkin Watch 2021, and the people want to know where the pumpkin is. Well,
oh my God,
it's eternal. It'll never go out.
Pumpkin's back. All right. Well, I was expecting a Santa hat or something. We better get that.
No, I'm not that organized. Trust me.
There's still time.
All right. Someone please send Will a Santa hat. Thank you, chat. All right, Jen.
All right, let's head on off to the world of NFTs. So a Bored Ape NFT accidentally sold for around $3,000 instead of $300,000. The owner said he had a fat-fingered typing error while listing the NFT. He meant to list it for 75 ETH, listed it for 0.75 ETH, and then a bot snapped it up before he could cancel the transaction. So, Will, I'm going to toss this down to you. You're shaking your head there. Talk to me about these bots that are just snapping up NFTs in like the snap of a finger.
There's two things I do want to talk about for this piece. It's kind of hilarious. It popped up. So in NFT circles, there's different like groups. And NFT, there's like a clique almost where you'll have like the Bored Ape guys, and then you'll have like the PFP guys, stuff like that. And the Bored Ape guys, for whatever reason, they always lose their NFTs. Like they always are scammed. They're always hacked. They always give their seed phrase to somebody else. Like they're notorious as a meme now that these people always lose their apes. And this just kind of continues the same story. A fat finger here just means somebody put in the wrong value they wanted to sell their ape for, and they clicked it too fast, and then someone bought it really quickly. And on the other side of that exchange, like you're saying there, Jen, there's a bot, and that bot is just a contract some other programmer set up, and it just kind of looks for low prices, and it will instantly buy anything that hits below like a certain price threshold. And so it's instantaneous. Like if you accidentally fat finger, put it for the wrong price, your ape is gone. This happens with crypto as well. People do it for Bitcoin. People do it for all types of goods. You can do it on eBay also. Like these things are just out there. I just think it's sad, but it's also hilarious that these Bored Ape guys just keep getting scammed over and over again. While all the other NFT circles, they're fine. They don't seem to be like struggling with this as a concept as much. Zach, I want to throw this over to you though.
Yeah, I mean, this is like crypto personal responsibility 101, right? It's like, oh man, that sucks. That happened. Ostensibly, that's irreversible, but we've seen in the past that OpenSea has taken actions to step in and reverse suspect transactions. So I will be watching to see what happens on this one. If this is just, yep, sorry, you're out of luck, or if this is like, oh wait, we're going to step in and try to allay some of the concerns of maybe these newer users who are spending large sums on popular NFTs. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see what OpenSea does following this, but also interesting. Was this covered by the BBC? The BBC covered this?
Yeah, it was BBC, right?
Yeah.
Which is one thing I wanted to bring up.
Covering that as well. Yeah. They're like, yep, the BBC is covering like fat finger, like silly crypto stuff. Maybe this is like the new, I forgot the seed phrase, or like the new, like, oh no, I put the hard drive with the Bitcoin in the trash and now I'm searching the dump for it. I think there is a lot of fascination among like the crypto curious about this permanence of some of these decisions, right? And so I think maybe this is sort of hits that nerve that resonates with folks who are like, what is this crazy? This stuff is crazy. So anyway, that's all I got.
Really quick, I wanted to grab it. Yeah. The BBC writer for this article, and I typically don't like to critique journalists, but they did say that the reason for this happening is because it was an unregulated market, which is really fascinating to see like that creeping into the consciousness of people still, right? That Zach, you just brought it up, but how this is always irreversible. If you send Bitcoin to somebody, the only way you're getting it back is convincing that person to send it back to you. You can't, like PayPal's not going to come in and try to fix it for you. And I think that still is very much so in the normie mindset that it's an unregulated market and we need regulators to come in and protect people's Bored Apes. Jen, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I was going to bring that point up and I just want to add to it. I don't feel like that's an excuse we should be using here. It's not because it's unregulated. It's because the transaction was able to happen so quickly. There was a story here in Canada about someone emailing money. I know I brought that up on the show before, but they accidentally emailed $19,000 to someone else and that transaction went through and they can't get their money back. So I don't think that this is something that would necessarily be solved in a regulated market, although banks can reverse payments, I guess, on a case-by-case basis. But Naomi, I'll pass it off to you.
Like, what would the regulation even be? Like, we are regulating people. They can no longer make stupid mistakes. Or is it, we can regulate people so that you can no longer take advantage when someone makes a stupid mistake? It's like, no, people do dumb things all the time. Like, other people will capitalize on it. Like, don't do dumb things. We don't want to create a moral hazard situation where everyone thinks they can go out and just do whatever dumb things, not have any precautions, not take any accountability in their lives. Like, we want a culture where people assume individual responsibility. They take accountability. This is a really bad thing that happened. Like, I feel for this person. This is bad. And you know what? They're probably never going to make this mistake again. Absolutely not. They're going to double and triple check. Maybe they will have someone watching over their shoulder. I don't move funds ever without someone near me, like, double checking, because this is the crypto world and you make too many mistakes and you realize that it's dangerous. So if you're getting into this space, realize you need to be more careful than you are with your normal bank transactions, because these things are irreversible. So make sure you're double checking, triple checking, having someone else, making sure that everything you're doing is correct, and then send it, because this is permanent. And on that permanent note, let's end Monday's show permanently, and we will pick up again on Tuesday. Zach,
until next Monday.
Wrap this up.
I will be your trusted middleman on this, Naomi, and I will end this show. Sometimes middlemen, they're great. Sometimes they really suck. And that's
Zach,
the conversation
you're my
that is
favorite
being had
mailman.
here. Thanks. I'm not going to reverse that transaction for you. No, I'm not.
Thank you.
All right. Good times. Code is Law here on The Hash, brought to you by CoinDesk TV. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Zach Seward, Will Foxley, Jen Sanasi, Naomi Rockwell. We'll be back. Tune in, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Babu.
All about Bitcoin.
Babu.
Stay with Babu. Shout out to the
Babu's
pumpkin.
Straight
Spot hands all around. All right, everybody.
He's
Jen
stretching.
with a festive poinsettia.
Yeah, Jen's
back there.
poinsettia back down there.
It's the season.
Like
Making up for the
that is
pumpkin.
dying, and I'd never
It is.
water. All right.
All right. Good times.
End the
folks.
show.
We'll
End
see you
it.
soon. I will.
End this show. Shut it down.